So, greetings. I just want to mention I have pretty bad COPD. That's why I'm wearing this thing here. I'll have to catch my breath from time to time. Don't let that bother you any, please. Also, I'm reading from a screen I have behind my computer, but this is a report that I wrote myself many years ago. So I'm not reading someone else's words. I'm reading my own words that I wrote. And then it's much easier than trying to remember all this because it's too much to remember. Here we go. So the most successful crime is one that no one knows about. But the second most successful crime is one that no one believes. My name is Jim. I'm 67 years old, retired, got bad COPD. My mother was drugged, raped, and tortured by at least 4 Catholic clergymen and women and other special guests from time to time on many occasions, many, many years ago. I directly witnessed and was forced to participate in at least 2 of the rituals. That's what they call that. I was also drugged, raped, and tortured in the same ritual context by the same clergy and other special guests from time to time on many occasions. Now, I do not use the word torture lightly. There are many ways to inflict extreme physical agony into the human body, which will leave no obvious marks on that body, and many of them were utilized during these rituals. My own abuse began when I was 3 and ended when I was 13. However, the PTSD never ends, which is why it has taken me so long to write this report. So what happened then is still happening now to thousands of children and vulnerable adults in this nation and millions around the world. Now, obviously, all Catholic clergy are not directly involved in this. However, most in high positions are involved, as are many others outside the church, hundreds of thousands. There are 2 primary reasons why there is so little accurate information available about ritual abuse. The first reason is that it all happens in secret. No one is going to rape a child in the middle of Main Street, obviously, because if they do, they will get caught. Rapists don't want to get caught, of course, especially rapists whose lives are funded by the public, especially rapists who have been ordained as clergy. So they commit their crimes in secret so they won't get caught. All successful criminal activity happens in secret. What is the expression used to refer to criminals whose activities and identities became known to the public? The expression is, they got caught. What was the condition of them getting caught? Their activities and/or identities were no longer secret. For a criminal, not remaining secret is the same as getting caught, more or less. They're one and the same. Let me catch my breath. So it would be cowardly and inaccurate to assert that there is no secret criminal activity going on in this country. Of course there is, lots of it. Many criminals are smart enough to fully understand the limitations inherent in their crime, and so they keep their activities just within the boundaries of those limitations. So what would be the most important rule for any successful criminal enterprise? Don't get caught. What would be the most important rule for not getting caught? Commit the crimes in secret. Is it even possible for a successful criminal enterprise to exist without secrecy? No, it's not. Secrecy is rule number 1 for any successful criminal enterprise. Sorry, my COPD. The second reason, which I believe is the main reason, is that no one wants to believe this. No one wants to hear about it. No one wants to read about it. No one wants to know about it. No one wants to even think about it. Who would? In other words, denial. The safest hiding place for any child rapist or any organized group of child rapists is behind your denial and mine. If it had not happened to me, I probably wouldn't believe it either. And if it had not happened to my own mom, I would not still be pursuing it after all these years. But it did happen, and more importantly, it is still happening to many thousands of children and vulnerable adults every year, maybe even millions. It takes courage to acknowledge that this is happening and is prevalent. Catch my breath again. So if you look at all this from the criminal's viewpoint, then their strategy becomes apparent. Rape is a crime which is always witnessed by at least one person. The rape victim is the witness to the crime. This creates an obvious problem for the criminal. What do you do if you are a criminal and the nature of your crime is such that there will always be at least one witness each time you commit your crime? What do you do? So one solution would be to kill the witnesses after the crime is over. But doing this would cause two problems for the criminal. First, the public would know that a crime has been committed due to the disappearance of the child. And second, it will cause the authorities to investigate what happened. If the witness is killed, the crime will no longer be secret. Also, the rapist may want to assault many victims during his lifetime and or assault a few victims many times each. Either way, killing them all is not an option because on the one hand, many dead victims will produce an intense public outcry and a thorough investigation. And on the other hand, a dead victim cannot be raped over and over again. So what do you do? Catch my breath. So what do you do if you are a serial rapist and you want to keep abusing throughout your lifetime without ever getting caught and without anyone even knowing that the abuse is taking place, but killing the witnesses / victims is not an option? What do? You develop many methods to manage the witnesses, who are also the victims. You develop methods to manage, to control, to harass, to threaten, to intimidate, to isolate, to manipulate, to embarrass, to confuse, to disable, to blame, to drug, to discourage, and above all else, to discredit the witnesses. You develop methods to discredit the witnesses. A witness who is not believed is no threat to the criminal. Hey, this is the primary reason why the ritualized rape described below is so unbelievable. They made it unbelievable on purpose so that no one would believe it. That is how they got away with it. That is how they get away with it. But it goes much deeper than that. What would be the only way to absolutely know the witness will not be believed? How could that be accomplished? A child or adult is to be raped and then released back into the world, away from the control of the rapist, back to his home and family, back to his life. The rapist will not be there physically to monitor and control the child. What can the rapist possibly do so that this little witness will not even be sure what happened, will be terrified to report it even if she does begin to remember, and most importantly, will not be believed if she does report the assault? What can you do? Drive the witness insane. Okay, that is what the rapist can do to know absolutely that the witness will not be able to report the crime, and even if she does, he will not be believed anyway. This is not a joke. This is the primary, although not only, function of satanic ritual abuse. I gotta catch my breath. Ritual abuse is rape combined with the means to conceal that rape. Ritual abuse is rape combined with extreme violence, extreme deception, mind and memory altering drugs, and cues and triggers to stimulate the victim when they want to. violence, deception, drugs, and cues. Those elements are added to the rape systematically for the specific purposes of neutralizing the witness and gaining control of the victim, both the same person. So why does the rapist want to gain complete control of the victim? So that he will not be able to resist or retaliate, even as she is raped and sold and brutalized repeatedly over many years. Satanic ritual abuse is all about raping children and vulnerable adults and getting away with raping children and vulnerable adults. The religious element is a smokescreen added to hide and support the crime. Catch my breath again. So when you hear about grown adults wearing devil masks, sacrificing live animals, drugging, terrifying, and brutally raping little children, et cetera, your first reaction, if you are a sane, compassionate, normal adult, is to completely reject the entire idea. Right, it's all bullshit, just some sicko making stuff up to get publicity, right? The reason why you react that way is because you are not a child molester or a rapist or a sadist or a psychopath. And of course, you don't want to even think about innocent children being raped and tormented to the point of insanity by grown adults. You don't want to believe it is really happening in this world, maybe even in your own church, school, lodge, neighborhood daycare, etc. But there are adults out there who are not like you, not at all like you, and there are millions of them out of billions of normal adults. Catch my breath. There are millions of adults who do rape children, and many of those adults rape those children in a context that will render the children unable to accurately or credibly testify about the rape. What is that context? Satanic ritual abuse. So the best estimates available suggest that at least 1% of adult men and approximately 0.1% of adult women are active pedophiles. In America, there are about 115 million men and about 100 million women in their sexually active years of life. So 1% of 115 million is 1,115,000, and 0.1% of 100 million is 100,000. So here in the US of A, there are over 1 million men and about 100,000 women who actively rape children on an ongoing basis. And each of these rapes an average of 4 per person. So that's millions and millions of kids. If only 10% of the child molesters in America belong to a satanic ritual abuse organization, then there are 100,000 men in America actively raping children as part of satanic torture rituals, and about 10,000 women doing the same. If only 10% of those people have infiltrated various churches, lodges, etc., then there are 10,000 men and 1,000 women ordained as clergy or risen to 33rd degree who are actively raping children during satanic rituals inside those churches and lodges without the knowledge or consent of the other members throughout this country, throughout this world. And these numbers are very, very conservative. From the research I've done over the past several years, I would estimate that at least half of the sadistic type pedophiles in this country are working through churches and lodges, because that is where they can act with complete impunity. If the children report them, the children are much more likely to be condemned and disbelieved than the priests or commanders. So in this case, and this is my own numbers now, there are about 500,000 men and 5,000 women ordained as clergy or working with clergy or risen to 33rd degree and so on, who are actively raping children during satanic rituals here in America. Now, everything I've researched points to these higher numbers. The fact is, this is a fact, most of what we call severe mental illness is post-traumatic hysteria, for lack of a better word, post-traumatic hysteria of one sort or another resulting from sexual abuse, which was combined in some way with violence, deception, and drugs. The victims don't remember exactly what happened and don't realize that many of their hallucinations are memories or pieces of memories or the result of memories precisely because of all the drugs and all the deception that was integrated into the rapes. Catch my breath. And they are actually terrified to remember any of it because of all the extreme violence and very real threats demonstrated to them when they were little children, and because of the very deep self-disgust, self-embarrassment, self-shame, that self-hatred that children feel when they are forced to perform sexual acts with adults. Ladies and gentlemen, the sickos are not the folks trying desperately to educate the public about all the ritual abuse going on in this country and in the world. The sickos are the adults who do in fact rape and torture little children to the extent that those children eventually become mentally ill. So what you are about to hear on all these videos, I wrote this down first, and that took me over 3 years to write because I needed so much time to recover after writing each section. This paper describes only what I experienced and witnessed directly. All my videos are only my direct eyewitness experience with my own eyes, ears, and body. The intensity of suffering I have endured throughout my life as a direct result of what they did is beyond contemplation. But I would ask you to contemplate it anyway, because it is still happening today to hundreds of thousands of children, possibly millions when you read the child trafficking numbers, and many adults on a scale much larger than any sane person would want to believe. It takes courage to face reality. It takes courage to face the facts. And you got to have that courage to be in this world. So none of these memories, none of these videos were influenced by any kind of hypnosis, suggestion, drugs, etc. They began to come to me in vivid flashbacks as a result of stressful, no-win life situations, which piled up on me all at once many years ago, in addition to physical situations at work, which seemed similar to the physical situations which surrounded those rituals. And all of this kept making me feel so similar to how I felt during those rituals that bits and pieces of memory started popping into my head. And once I began to remember, much of it flooded into my mind in only a few months. That's how flashbacks work. Once you watch these vids, you will know that I am not doing this for any kind of publicity, because there is no possible benefit to me for doing this. I'm doing it because it is still happening to kids and adults all around the world, and someone has to describe it accurately so normal folks like you will know what's going on and hopefully feel compelled to stop it.